And then the one that we are, and usually we talk a little bit here, but we already have our first guest up on Skype, and that is Sean Dollinger, co-founder and CEO of Namaste.
Hey, Sean.
Hey guys, how's it going?
It's going well. Thank you for coming on the show. I was saying earlier, I know that you've got a meeting or a conference that you're talking to in like 3 hours, so thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, no guys, thank you very much for having us.
Absolutely. So what we want to talk about, we're definitely going to be talking about Namaste. That's why we've got you on here. But I'd also want to ask you, look what's happened in cannabis in the last week or 2 weeks. Is cannabis back?
Unbelievable. As soon as that $5 billion investment came in, history repeats itself, right? We saw Constellation come in right around Christmas. Christmas isn't normally a time when stocks go, and we saw them come in with $3 billion, and look what happened. There was about a couple week delay last time, and here, as soon as you saw that $5 billion, and we're off to the races.
Yeah, that was definitely a sector catalyst, that's for sure.
And it's been amazing ever since. It was going, and it was nice to see. The first couple of days you saw these huge rips in share prices, and you think, okay, we've seen this before. Since almost January, you see massive pullbacks come from that. But since then, it's been coming back, but some of these days, most of these are starting to end green still. Like there's a lot of volume coming in. That's why I asked that question, is cannabis back? And I think it is.
Yeah, money follows money, right? So that $5 billion cash investment, and again, a lot of people are saying $5 billion. That people didn't realize that it was at almost a 40% premium to where Canopy was actually trading at that moment in time. So, that's $5 billion from Constellation. How many other companies are there like that? How many mutual funds with trillions of dollars invested out there haven't even began investing in the cannabis space? And I think that's what you get, everybody, and then your investors and listeners and everybody who's tuning in get really excited.
No, exactly. And of one of those companies, clearly, Namaste has been seeing it as well. You've had a lot of volume on your stock. I think your stock is actually some of the best volume on the of the sector. What's going on at Namaste now, and what are you excited about coming up to October 17th?
So I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but this is the first publicly traded company that I've been involved in. And we started 2 years ago, March 2016. At 6 cents, and we went as high as $4.40. And one thing that I've learned, we're not going to be able to control share. People who invest in investor relations and these different things, you might get a pop here and there, but stocks always go where they're valued at and where they should be valued. So some companies go down, some companies go up. What we've decided to do at Namaste, and in my 18 years plus as commerce, our heads down, right? Work, and at the end of the day, we need to have a real business, and that's what's going to be important at the end of the day. If the share price is at $4 today, $10, if you don't have a real business, who cares, right? And that's really what we're focused on. And I think from the last couple of weeks, the amount of supply agreements that we've announced and everything else that's going on, we're your everything cannabis store. So for your viewers or yourselves, even a lot of people say, oh, Namaste is a vaporizer company. We're so much more than a vaporizer company. We're your everything cannabis store, whether you want cannabis, CBD, vaporizers, anything. And one thing I want to point out, a company like Tilray, who yesterday came out with a $9 million quarter and now are valued at over $5 billion, Namaste very quietly has some of the top revenue in the entire space. By December of this year, we'll have a run rate of $4 million a month. That puts us at $12 million a quarter, exactly the same as Tilray. Tilray is valued at $6 billion, Namaste is valued at $500 million, and we haven't even began selling cannabis yet. Wait till we start selling cannabis and wait till you see where our numbers go.
Yeah, very interesting there. And when it comes to selling cannabis, just a quick question for yourself. I know you're going to be selling for a lot of LPs and things like that. Do you guys have certain margins that you're looking for, or certain amount of revenues you're going to be looking for from selling cannabis from LPs?
Yeah, so great question. We're looking at about a 50% gross margin. So it's really similar to what we're doing on our vaporizers. Vaporizers due to competitors and competition come in at around 40% gross. But on a consumable product like cannabis, where There's going to be MAP pricing, which we're really working hard with different licensed producers. And again, MAP pricing is the recommended suggested retail price, right? We want to make sure that if a product like Aurora's is selling at $10 on the shelf somewhere, that the next shelf isn't selling it at $8. We want there to be consistency in the market. And really, when you get a consumer to purchase from you, it should be based on what type of amazing customer service you could offer, what kind of experience, what kind of advertising can you do. It shouldn't be driven by being able to offer the lowest price out there.
Right. No. Sean, can you give us maybe an update on the Mart situation? Because I know there's I follow a lot of companies, and there seems to be delays with Health Canada. Nobody really knows what's going on. Where are we at with that?
So Health Canada, the reason why I imagine you don't hear much, they ask you to not really come out and publicize any of it. So to stay on side, I'll tell you what we've announced up to this point. So Namaste, and you pointed out with Mart, we're really going for the sales-only license. So just so you know, a licensed producer normally has two parts to their license, right? A production license, and then once they have their product, how do they go about selling that product? That's via a sales license. So with the sales license, there's a few steps obviously required. They need to make sure that when you get the product, that you know how to handle it, that you're meeting all the guidelines and regulation, and then at that point they'll go ahead and approve you. So we're at the point where they've actually come on site again to look at all of our videos, look at the products that we received. So we received a large shipment from Supreme, which is Fire, F-I-R-E, and they made sure that we knew exactly what we were doing, packaging it, because it's all shipped in bulk. It's not shipped as a finished product, and that's one of the biggest challenges right now, and it'll be interesting to see how it's rolled out across the provinces, because companies like the Liquor Commission, and I can't imagine them taking a bulk shipment, putting it in baggies or putting it in packaging and then distributing it. You know, they're used to getting a finished product, which is what Namaste thrives at. So we're hoping there's a bit of a shift in the regulations here in the next couple months. But for the moment in time, they need to make sure you know how to handle this product, and then only then will they give you the sales license. So we're at the stage now where literally any Friday, we could get that sales license. We've checked off all the boxes. We got the feedback from Health Canada. Health Canada has taken a look at it. And now we're in this hold pattern, just waiting for the sign off and for them to hopefully put it on their website saying Namaste is open for business, or I should say Mart's open for business.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of speculators and investors that can't wait for that.
Yeah.
Sean, I have one more question for you. What can you tell us about the cannabis tracking system? So the government is going to implement a tracking system to track everything from seed to sale. Do you know much about that at all?
So we don't know much about their specific one. We teamed up with a company out of Australia, which is a fantastic company called YPD. And basically they have all QR tracking, and where we've implemented it globally is through, believe it or not, there's fake vaporizers. So we need to make sure that our customers around the world are getting the real thing. This could be applied to cannabis as well. If a company or an LP or a dispensary is only supposed to be selling product that remains in Canada to Canadian residents, but then through YPD technology packages going across the border into the US, companies aren't doing justice to the Canadian regulatory body by allowing that to happen. So with YPD and our own technology, we're the ones who are trying to roll out a strategy for the governments across Canada.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we brought it up, actually, is that, you know, that's the biggest question right now. What are they going to do? And you brought up another really interesting point that, funny enough, I never even thought of. When you're talking about the OCS and they're getting these massive shipments, because all these different stores and retail stores, it sounds like they're going to have to go through the OCS. So if they get these massive shipments, do they also have factories that are going to be able to put it into their different containers and actually ship it out? You know, I don't know if they thought of that, or maybe that's why they push it to April. They're like, wait a second, we can't do this. So it's very interesting that you brought that up because I don't know how they're going to do it.
And it's great. Like I've sat in with a couple of them, and not to name any on the show, but I'm showing them what we're doing, and everybody's blown away. Even one of the largest companies in Canada was blown away. We went to their corporate offices, presented. Their systems are so antique and so old, they can't even adapt, and they're so worried about consumer protection and all of these different things on their system that they can't even implement our technology. So even though they're saying April, that might be aggressive.
You mentioned Australia. Your vape sales there are really strong, right? How big is that market?
So there's a market that isn't even rolled out legalization. They're just starting on the medical side. Namaste controls 90% of site traffic in Australia as far as cannabis goes, and using different devices. And the way we've positioned ourselves globally is we're using Canada, which it's unbelievable that we're at the forefront here of the entire space. Hands down, the most exciting time in any history I'm sure any of us could remember. And building out this framework that we could then apply around the globe. So we'll be able to take the technology, take the e-commerce platforms we're building, and go ahead and overlap it in each country that legalizes.
Nice.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
And it's amazing as this space keeps growing, and as this space we're going into all these other countries now, it's getting harder and harder to find out what companies actually understand it, what companies are actually prepared for it. And when you look at Namaste, you guys have a lot of different aspects going on for you. How do you manage that many channels and that many things so that you can ensure successful integration of your online platform, going abroad, and everything else that you're doing?
Great question. And just the other day, it kind of hit me. Don't have FOMO in this business, fear of missing out. I think that's where a lot of companies struggle, and then they cut themselves too thin, and then all of a sudden their core business is weaker. So what I thought to myself the other day is, man, there's so many opportunities. They all are so exciting all around the world, but we need to really take a breath, appreciate what we've developed, and really focus on how does that opportunity benefit our company globally. So one thing that I've realized, and I'm sure you have as well, if we wait for doctors and researchers and to get these results out there back to know if there's health benefit, we're going to be waiting here, right? It doesn't take a couple of months to be research. With Namaste's platform and with us having 1.5 million customers around the world. So to give you again, bring it into a comparable, Canopy has 150,000 customers. Namaste has 10 times the amount of customers globally. Yeah. In Canada, our users are now well over 12,000 medical users using our software on our platforms, etc. We're building the largest peer-to-peer platform. So just imagine you're shopping now for cannabis, and you're not shopping any longer by price point or organic, non-organic, or delivery times. But I woke up this morning with a bit of a headache. What strain of product helped me get, what strain could help me get better? Mm-hmm. And basically with our platform, with the amount of customers we have, with the wearable technology we've developed, all of this information through our AI and machine learning engine then benefits that platform. So when looking at opportunities globally, when we're looking to expand, we still need to look at this core e-commerce model that we've built, and how do we go about developing it and making it better and better.
Yeah, that is huge.
And that's a great point, actually, because I was just looking into our chat room, actually. We have a cannabis chat room where everyone's talking about the live. One of the questions that they had asked was, what Namaste is doing, getting on your medical patients, just like you said, growing your database, with all these LPs really putting a lot of time into getting medical patients, with probably the hopes of wanting to change them into recreational patients later. Do you still find that you guys have a competitive advantage in that nature? And are you still, you know, a unique aspect where, like you said, you're tenfold other LPs? Do you believe it's still unique, and do you believe you can still grow at the same pace?
We've proven we're the #1 company as far as e-commerce goes in the entire space. We started with vaporizers. There's tons of competition globally. There's vaporizer stores on every corner. How does market share? How does Namaste have the majority of market share globally? How have we expanded at the rate we have? When it comes to cannabis, we know we're the leader in Canada as far as e-commerce goes. We've taken Namaste MD, the first telemedicine app ever launched for cannabis, in the Apple Play Store and the Google Play Store. As well, we took the #3 spot just recently across Canada, where we've beat out Leafly, which Leafly's been around a lot longer than us on the application side of it. We continuously proved that we could be the dominant player in the so right now we know what the medical framework looks like as far as e-commerce. Our job at Namaste, for our shareholders, investors, and for our whole team, is to make sure we understand those rules and regulations inside and out. And we believe by focusing on medical at this present moment in time, it gives us the competitive advantage, and it allows us to remove borders across Canada. So even, let's take a product like wine. I'm here speaking to you in Whistler today, right? And I went over to the farmer's market the other day, and there was some fantastic wine. How am I getting you that wine in Toronto? Let's say I call you and tell you I had the most unbelievable wine, and this is a product that's been around, you know, for hundreds of years, but let's say from a regulatory standpoint, 100 years. How do I go about getting you that product legally in Toronto? Right now, there's no legal way of shipping alcohol across a provincial border.
Yeah.
And that hasn't changed in decades. We believe with the medical platform we've built, giving free medical prescriptions to whoever's in need, we could then ship product. If I find a fantastic strain here in BC and you're sitting in Ontario, I could ship that to you next day delivery. What do you have to lose by going the medical route versus direct route?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, and that's a great answer, and I hope, I'm trying to think, I couldn't see what name was there that asked that, but I appreciate that very much. One more question for you. This is one that, you know, a lot of people are talking about, the Nasdaq. Are you able to talk on that any further than you already have? And are you guys looking at making that listing, obviously in the very near future?
Well, OTCQB is where we trade in the US right now. OTCX, I believe, is the big market in the US. And I saw that Fire Supreme announced that this morning, and their stock was up huge. Namaste obviously qualifies for the OTCQX. We qualify for the Nasdaq. We've been approved. We can move up there at any point in time. I made a promise, and I don't know if you guys are aware, and I'd love to have you guys over to the party September 12th in Montreal, but we had this pledge party where we came out, and when stocks were being shorted in the space, I have 20 million shares of Namaste. Corey has about 7 million, who co-founded the company. We came on, and even though we were completely freely trading, we said, we're not going to sell a single one of our shares, that we're committing for the next 90 days. And that doesn't mean after 90 days that we were going to go ahead and sell them, but for 90 days we weren't. We had over 150 million shares, over 50% of our float pledged to not be sold. And we saw a foundation come into our stock. And September 12th in Montreal with special artists, we're having a big party for all of our shareholders and investors. Back to the NASDAQ question, the reason why I went there is we made a similar promise. People were excited about the NASDAQ, and the NASDAQ has a bit of a funny rule there. Like, even if you're a $5 billion market cap company, or let's say you're a $2 billion market cap company, and you have 1 billion shares, which we don't, we have 270 million shares, and that means your share price is $1, even though you're a $2 billion company, they're not okay with that $1 share price. They have a minimum requirement of $3 US.
Yeah.
At today's price is about $3.95 Canadian. So Namaste at that point was trading at about $1.35. So some of our shareholders and investors were worried about a 3-to-1 consolidation or a 4-to-1 consolidation to be able to move up to the Nasdaq. We came out about 30 days ago to make a promise to settle everybody's nerves. They saw we already did it once. We went ahead and did it a second time, saying we won't sell. Our sales license is right around the corner, and I'm hoping that gets us where we need, and then absolutely we'll move up to the Nasdaq and be, I believe, only the 3rd company to do so in the entire cannabis space. I think that would be amazing for all of our shareholders, investors, potential shareholders in the future.
No, I appreciate it. And actually that question was on our FTMIG live, our Facebook page. And the next question was talking about the reverse split. So you answered both there. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. Well, hey, Sean, you know, I know you're very busy. You've got another speech to get ready for. I appreciate you coming on the show. It's been a blast, and let's do this again sometime in the near future.
Yeah, thanks guys for the support. Great job on the show. It looks fantastic, and anytime you guys want to have us, we'll be glad to come on. So thanks for supporting Namaste. We really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll see you September 12th in Montreal.
All right, Sean,
absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Great.
Namaste, guys.